you go. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to yet another cracking edition of the Matt Brown Show. This is the Secrets of Fail series, where we are talking to entrepreneurs and CEOs all about the epic business blunders. And with us today in the hot seat is none other than Alan Morris, the CEO of the Alan Morris Company. Alan, welcome to the show.
Great to be with you, Matt.
Perfect, brother. Well, look, let's get into the elevator pitch. What exactly are you guys up to over there at the Alan Morris Company?
Well, we've been in the real estate business, commercial real estate, and we have been in the business of developing, managing, brokering commercial properties in Florida and Georgia since, 65 years this year, since 1958.
That's amazing.
And I think we've probably developed more office buildings than anyone in the state of Florida. And about 20 years ago, we branched out to start developing apartment buildings and hotels and mixed-use developments of all different components that I enjoy the most, creating a total living, working environment.
Yeah, because I think from my understanding, I'm still learning a little bit about American every other day, but there's a housing shortage in the US, from my understanding.
Yes, there is. And COVID just exacerbated the problem that much more because construction slowed down or stopped, and the shortage that we had has gotten more severe. Mm. And we see it particularly in places in Florida, where many people are choosing to move to Florida from other places in the country, and that's created an even greater shortage of housing and rising housing prices in Florida, both homes as well as condominiums and rental apartments.
Yeah, and I don't think the interest rates are helping things at the moment either.
It just makes it that much more challenging. That does suppress the values a little bit for homes because it takes a lot of buyers out of the market that can't afford to buy certain houses and condominiums because of the high interest rates.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that sounds like a show for another day, I'm sure, but we don't have time for that in the Secrets of Fail series. We have to get into the meat and the potatoes, Alan. So, right. Alan, what is your epic story of fail for our audience around the world today?
Well, for me, it was really pretty simple. I had gotten to a point of, after running the company, I bought the company from my father when I was 28 years old, took over as the CEO, and that was in 1980, and ran it for 20 years to 2000, and after 20 years plus of being in the business, I just got burned out. I had conflicts with some of the senior executives in my company, and had conflicts at home, and was overcommitted with all the community activities. And I started having severe headaches. So severe, I went to the head of neurosurgery at my hospital, and he said, after talking with me, he said, "Alan, well, I'll tell you right now, with your symptoms, you've got a brain tumor. So let's do the MRI and let's see where your tumor is, and then we'll know what our options are." Well, one test led to another, and after 3 weeks of tests, he came back and said, "Look, I don't know what to tell you, but your tumor is not there." I said, "Oh, great. Well, why are you calling it my tumor if it's not there?" He said, "Look, I can't give you muscle relaxants and beta blockers and pain meds." I said, "Let me get this straight. You're telling me there's no physical cause for my pain, but you're going to give me medicine to mask my pain. I think I need to get to the bottom of this and find out how I must be causing this pain myself." I knew I had gotten to a point where the stress was so great in my life and the conflicts that I was dealing with were just overwhelming me. But as any good CEO, you just press through the pain, no gain. You just press on and you press on, you press on. Well, I got to a point of pressing on where I was just burned out. I didn't care if I closed the Alan Morris Company. I would have been happy to just close it and walk away and do something else. And I decided that I needed to, I had one of our big projects under construction at the time, so I couldn't just walk away from that. But I ended up saying, okay, I'm going to take a 3-month break from everything, resign from everything, bring in one of our former executives to make him managing director for 3 months. I figured if he really screwed things up, that I could come in and save the company, because, of course, I felt like I was indispensable. And I stepped out for 3 months, and 3 months turned into 3 years. Wow. And it began a journey of looking into the truth about myself, seeing things in blind spots that I had that I didn't know that I had, and discovering that I had lost a lot of the joy in my life in the process of winning, fighting and fighting and fighting. I had lost the joy. I had lost the vision for what I wanted to achieve in the company. And so the company had a great reputation and was profitable and doing really great things, but I was just not excited about it anymore. And that was a personal failure in me that I felt like I needed to just step away from the whole thing to get my head straight and to figure out what it was that I wanted. And as a result of that, I ended up kind of reinventing myself, reinventing the company, and together with our executive team, rewriting our whole mission statement for the company. And the end result was the company is like 20 times bigger than it was then.
That's crazy. So, Alan, tell me, what did that whole experience teach you? Because it's interesting, right? I think sometimes we wind up with businesses that we hate or that we like. That was my last business. It was successful, usual story, revenue growth, doubling every year, 3 years, blah, blah. And then got to a size and I woke up one morning and I was like, this sucks ass. Like, I hate this business. Like, I don't want to be in this thing. And then, like you said, like you feel as if you're indispensable, like nobody could run it, you know what I mean? Like as good as you can. And, if you don't steer the ship's going to run aground.
Yes.
And so, and there was another lady, Sonia, she's out in South Carolina, also same story, $10 million a year recruitment business, woke up one morning, was like, this sucks. And she also had to like reinvent herself. So like, I've heard this thing before, I've experienced this thing before, but I am curious, what did you personally learn from that experience? What do you now take forward into your business today?
Well, a lot of things. Some of the basic things that I feel like were really important were that a company and the health of the company is really just a reflection of the health of the CEO and the vision and the passion and the love or the misery of the CEO. And I found that the conflicts that I allowed to continue in my company with senior executives that were in very cordial, silent war with each other was making it a lousy place for people to work because they felt that yucky feeling of a disingenuous collaboration. And there was a lot of waste and a lot of duplication of effort and lack of cooperation and lack of communication. And I tolerated that as the CEO. I'm embarrassed to say that I tolerated it. I felt stuck. Mm-hmm. My chief financial officer, I felt like was indispensable. I felt I couldn't fire him. He had all the codes to all the bank accounts. And I thought maybe he would transfer, all of our money to some bank in Panama or Luxembourg. And so I am so ashamed and embarrassed that I found myself feeling stuck. And then the president of two of my subsidiary companies that were important companies within our group, I felt like he was indispensable. And both of these guys knew that I couldn't run the company without them. They knew they were indispensable.
Hmm.
And so they were really surprised when I kind of came back from this sabbatical and let them go. It was like a total cleansing for me personally. And I discovered for the company, I didn't realize how unhappy people were in the company working for them because they were just pushing through, muddling through themselves. And it was like setting everyone free in the company. And so that was one of the things I learned, that my health or lack of health is reflected in the company and the experience that people have working in the company. And when we rewrote our mission statement and rethought, what did we really want? You know, Matt, that question, what do you want, is the easiest question to ask and sometimes seems to be the hardest question to answer. And I had to decide, what is it that I wanted? And once you get really, really clear about what you want, then you are clear to the people that work for you. Then you're clear about the mission of the company and the direction of the company. And I think the most important thing that a leader can be is clear, to offer clarity as a leader. A lot of other qualities as well. But if the leader is not clear, the whole company is not clear. Mm. So we simplified our 12-point mission statement to 3 words: inspire, impress, and improve. We want to inspire people with the beauty of the buildings that we build. We want to impress them with the excellence of their experience, whether they're a resident or a tenant or a hotel guest. And we want to improve the lives of everyone we touch. That means our own people, our contractors we use, the architects we use, the subcontractors we use, the people that live in the neighborhood around our project, the people that live in the city that we build in. And so when we got really clear that if a project didn't inspire me and didn't inspire our leadership team, we wouldn't build it. It doesn't matter how profitable it was. We would turn it down, and we did. Or we would take a project that we thought had potential and keep redesigning it until we got an aha moment and said, wow, I love this building. This is going to be so cool. That's when we're excited. When I would get chills, I would know we're on the right path.
Yeah. Amazing, man. It's amazing. So Alan, if you could get into the Matt Brown Show time machine and kind of have the luxury of going back to yourself, let's just say when things weren't as, they weren't great and you're having these health issues and so forth. If you could go back to yourself then, what would you do differently and why, if anything?
Well, I think what I try to do is teach my old stubborn, hard-headed self that it's okay to be kind to myself. Stay connected to what I love, not just what I have to do, not just to my drive and my addiction to achievement. Mm-hmm. So I discovered one of the things was that I was an achievement addict. Mm-hmm. Achieve one more thing, build one more building, do one more deal, and that's an ugly taskmaster. And a lot of us, I think, CEOs and entrepreneurs find ourselves so addicted to the game and so addicted to the drive that it takes to make something successful that in the process of pushing and fighting and pushing and fighting, we lose our joy. And when we lose our joy, nothing is any fun anymore. And so we lose the playfulness, we lose the creativity that comes from being in your joy. And for me, one of the things I discovered that I had set aside that I loved, that I didn't have time for, was flying. I'm a pilot. And when I was in college in Georgia Tech, I was in the Georgia Tech Flying Club and discovered I love the freedom of flight. I love flying. Well, for some person, it may be golf. For some person, it may be stamp collecting. For another person, it may be gardening. For another person, maybe something else. But for me, it was flying. And I had to reconnect with some of those things that I loved. I discovered I also loved martial arts and became a 4th degree black belt in the process of my sabbatical. And those are the things that kept me connected to my joy that I had lost in the passion of my commitment to achieving.
Mm. Yeah,
that's what I would try to tell my old self.
Oh, mate, listen, so much, Alan, of your story is resonating with me. Like, I'm also an achievement junkie, primarily because, like, it's all about my dad. Like, my dad never, like, to get his attention. Like, if I got, I got a A plus, 97% out of 100 for history in matric or high school, and I couldn't even get like a thing. So for my whole life, I've always been addicted to trying to achieve things to get attention. You know what I mean? It's a weird sickness, I guess, but you only learn through your years. Like, I do believe in this idea of QBE, or qualified by experience. Like, you have to actually go through this shit, this failing, or what I call the process of becoming a better human. You know what I mean? And I do think that entrepreneurs, they become and grow much more acutely and faster than someone that's just in a job. Do you know what I mean? Or that's a doctor or whatever. Like, we have to deal with a very specific experience of uncertainty and doubt and fear and all that kind of stuff. And so all these things, cash flow crunches, health issues because we don't look after our health, like whatever it is, we never have work-life balance. We can't, it's difficult to connect with our wives in many cases because they're not entrepreneurs, so they don't understand. Our friends don't understand. And so it's lonely, and so the only thing, or at least for me in that context, is that keeps me driven is the next thing. It's the next thing. And then it becomes this hamster wheel. Like, we just keep grinding that shit out. So in many cases, I do believe, to your point, like, self-awareness is the first thing where you go, actually, you know what, I'm going to go and fly a plane instead of like, dealing with this next thing, and we never quite seem to reach a level of fulfillment. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And even like when we sell businesses, we go into depression. Like, what the hell is that about? Like, this is an actual fact. Like, 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs who sell their businesses go into depression because they don't have the struggle anymore. So then they're like, well, what am I going to do with my life? Well, how am I going to achieve the next thing if I don't have my business? So,
and what you described, Matt, what you described as the inner journey is, I believe, what it's really all about. Because some of us are so good at getting things done and accomplishing things. Like myself, I realized I had become more of a human doing than a human being.
Huh.
And often we realize that too late in life. And so when everything's about the doing or the achieving, when we lose that, or we sell that particular business, or we transition and are no longer the president of this company, or our role changes, all of a sudden we find ourselves lost because we've lost touch with, what's driving us inside. And so that's why I ended up writing my book last year on All In, going all in into the truth about ourselves and the freedom that you get from that and the reconnection of the joy and how that's manifested in, a business that in our case is 20 times bigger now.
It's amazing. Alan, what's your advice to other CEOs and entrepreneurs then about, the importance of failing or failure and becoming, who you were meant to be and ultimately successful in business?
Well, I think failure is the greatest teacher of all. When we're successful with something, it just reaffirms that everything we knew must have been right. And so we don't learn anything. So failure, in my case, opened the door to a whole new world of learning and realization about myself. The psychologist Carl Jung believed that 90% of what goes on in our lives is in our shadow, that we don't see it. We're only aware of maybe 10% of what's really going on inside of us. So, we're aware of our convictions, our beliefs, our education, our what our goals and values are, but there's so much beneath the surface there that of our past experiences, our past childhood experiences, like you described your experience with your father, and how that drove you in a way to want to achieve and want to be seen and want to prove yourself. Well, that may be 90% of what's going on in each of our lives. And if we think we're making a decision based on our conscious awareness, we don't have a chance. Our shadow is 90% going to overwhelm that. And we may rationalize our decision up here, but it's driven by things happening down here that we're not even aware of. And that can be really dangerous when we're making life decisions or major business decisions, and we're not realizing that the real thing that's driving us is something we don't even see. In our relationships, in our marriages, in all kinds of things. And it's really evident in our business. So that's some of the things that I feel like have been big learning experiences for me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you did mention it, but I was going to ask you about books. So what books or tools or resources do you recommend to other entrepreneurs, Alan?
Well, there's a lot of great resources out there, and I list a lot of those in my book, All In. My book is just coming out, just been distributed by Simon & Schuster, called All In, How to Risk Everything for Everything That Matters. And it's a book for leaders who are faced with challenges and how they deal with those challenges in life. Sometimes they're failures, sometimes they're opportunities, sometimes they're conflicts. But that's what our lives are all about when we're creating and building something. And in the process, we bump up against real life. And so I believe that in All In, I share the stories of both my life challenges. One of them was a plane crash I was in, where I broke my back and was paralyzed from the waist down. And after 3 surgeries, got the use of my legs back again, and went on later to become a 4th degree black belt. But I'm just grateful I can walk, frankly.
Yeah.
But and the stories of other men, other CEOs, and how they had a turn in their lives that caused them to open up and see things that they've been missing, blind spots in our lives. And so I share a lot of these stories in each of the different chapters of the book that I think are very, very helpful for anybody who is a leader.
Fantastic. Well, Alan, thanks so much for being on the show. You're a truly inspiring guy. Just a real privilege to have you on the show, dude, and to have your story out there and in the world. And ultimately, it will, of course, make a difference. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Matt. Great to be with you today.
Anytime. And everybody else, we'll see you again soon. Ciao.